So what we need to do here is we need to write perhaps a system of equations to represent the scenario. So we can see that Mike Miller purchases 8 gallons of paint and 3 brushes for $152.50. The next day he purchases 6 gallons of paint and 2 brushes for $113. How much does each gallon of paint and each brush cost? So again, we talked about underlining what we know and circling what we want to know. Well, we know that 8 gallons of paint and 3 paint brushes cost $152.50. We also know 6 gallons of paint and 2 paint brushes cost $113. What we want to know is the cost of each gallon of paint and each paintbrush. So we keep talking about paint gallons and paint brushes, and those are the two unknowns. We could identify those as the variables to our problems. So we could say let P equal the gallons of paint and B equal the number of paintbrushes. Then I can see I have two totals being given, the $152.50 and $113. And we know how they're being created. The first one is 8 gallons of paint and 3 brushes. So I could say 8P plus 3B equals $152.50. Then we have this other total of $113. Well, that comes from 6 gallons of paint, so 6P, and 2 brushes, 2B, equals 113. So here's our system of equations. By looking at the system, we want to see how could we solve it. And this one lends itself nicely to an algebraic method. We probably would not want to do substitution because it would take a significant amount of work to get one of the variables alone. So again, we could try our elimination method. So we'd pick a variable to eliminate. We want the same amount for the coefficient, one being positive and one being negative. So let's say I wanted to eliminate the paintbrushes. So I need the same amount, so a common multiple of 3 and 2 is 6. So I can multiply the first equation by a 2 and the second equation by a 3, but we need one of them to be negative. So let's make the first equation a negative 2. We'll multiply through on that, and then we'll multiply the second equation by 3. So in doing so, we'd have negative 16p minus 6b equals a negative 305. The second equation, 18p plus 6b equals 339. So when I add the equations together, we'll have 2p equals 34. Therefore, p would have to be 17. Since I know the value for p, the number of gallons, the price of the gallons per paint, I can use that to find the price of each paintbrush by substituting that value into one of the original equations. So if I substitute it into the first equation, I can solve for b. So I can multiply, subtract, and divide. So it looks like the cost for the paintbrushes would be $5.50. The only way to make sure that these are the correct prices for each is to substitute them back into the original equations for P and B and make sure we get the first total of $102.50 and $113 for the second total for both of those. So if we substitute them in, the question is, are they balanced? Well, if I multiply this and multiply that and add them together, I should get my $152.50 back. I can multiply these and multiply those, add them together, I should get back my $113. Since everything is checking out, the last thing to do is to write our sentence. So we know a gallon of paint costs $17 and a paintbrush costs $5.50.